Hey, it is Christmas Eve 2024. Um, Finally starting on what was meant to be your holiday gift, birthday gift, whatever. Well, really finishing it up. I already wrote the journal and now am doing the readings to go in along with it because I know how much attention span you have for reading, kiddo. I know I can be a bit corny. I know I can be a bit much. Hopefully maybe one of these days you'll look back on these and they'll be something good for you. If nothing else, I'm enjoying being an embarrassing dad like always. Feel free to make fun of me as much or as little as you choose. This is your life, kiddo. Love you, Vivian, and I hope you make the very best of it that you can. Journal date January 1st, 2023. Hey, Vivian, my brilliant little girl. It's the day after Grandma Sue's death, officially making me an orphan, even though I've half joked about being one for years. It is also the start to a new year, and I'm choosing to focus on that. This is the year you officially become an adult, and I want to make sure that you have this book for your 18th birthday. Even after you turn 18, you will be my little girl for a while, possibly always. Not literally, you're taller than me. Figuratively, though. I love you, kiddo, and that will always work to do what I can to take care of you. Not that I think you can't take care of yourself, simply because I want you to have an easy, happy, fulfilling life to the highest degree possible. I want you to have a better life than mine, and am willing to work to make that more likely. I also do this because it's what I see as the right thing to do, in part to make amends for the ways in which I hurt you earlier on in your life. I'll be writing a page a day, so you're stuck with this blathering. Love, Dad. Newsflash, I did not stick to the plan of a page a day. January 2nd, 2023. Kiddo, I hope you'll excuse me as I sometimes struggle with what to call you in this book. It's not because I'm an idiot as much as you might be laughing at that idea right now. You have understandably been a bit closed off about your identity, and it's been hard for me to see. That's not because I disagree with you or who you are. Instead, I am so excited to celebrate you. That's not fair, and it's made me impatient at times, and I'm sorry. It may sound nuts, but it's what I wanted when I came out. Really, it's what I've wanted for a long time. As a kid, I desperately wanted to have a good birthday party, really just to try and make up that for the shitty attempts at parties that Grandma Sue used to throw for me. Parties where no one showed up. It sucked. You probably are 0% surprised, knowing how lame your old man is, huh? In all honesty, though, when you told me yesterday that I was doing great, it absolutely lit my heart up. Thank you. Love, Dad. Date January 3rd, 2023. Sweet girl. Today has been such a grind trying to get ready for tomorrow's learning and teaching forum. Grandma Sue really has a penchant for poor timing. This is something that I have dealt with for decades. It's still a pain in the ass. At the end of the day, I understand the issue. Grandma Sue wants more of a relationship and more attention than I want with her. It's not a reflection of her entirely. A lot of it is my resentment to how she acted in the past. Some of it is simply differences in our lives and personalities. She has far more time and less to fill it with compared to me. I've often looked down on her because of that. I'm a bit of a workaholic, and some of that stems from living in a tire fire of world, while some of it is also from toxic productivity associated with capitalism. Of course, my addiction also plays out here. Ideally, I do hope and try to not be like that for you. That's part of why I stress the importance of communication so much to you. Being able to articulate wants, needs, boundaries, and motives is so important and can smooth over a lot in relationships. I wish I had learned that sooner. Love, Dad. January 4th, 2023. Vivian, It was good to get down to the Learning and Teaching Forum today, and I was so glad to get some help so I could bring home 3 of your flight manuals bound. That 737 though, phew, it is huge. I am so proud to see you finding your passion, and it is also really challenging me to unpack my ideas around college education. I know higher ed can be a disaster. Some of us are trying to make it better, and that was a lot of my reasoning for going to the Learning and Teaching Forum. And we had some good conversations on contract grading and inclusive language. It's opened up some great lines of communication, in my opinion. I missed you while I was at work and yet enjoyed getting out of the house and having some normalcy. Having some kind of purpose always helps me get out of myself. It's part of why I put so much energy and effort into raising you well. I've learned that we show gratitude by taking care of what we love, and you, young lady, are one of my very favorite people. I'm grateful to be your pa. Love, Dad. January 5th, 2023. Hey, girly. I don't say this to be condescending, but I was really proud of how articulate you were with your high school advisors today. I could never have been that good at explaining my motivations when I was your age. I was far more feral beast than normal teen. I was also really happy to hear you talking about Kent friends and seeing them, especially for the fact that you let them know who you are, who you truly are. I sometimes envy your knowledge of yourself. It took me a really long time to unravel who I was, why I did the things I did, and what I wanted to do with my life. I'm happy to see you have an easier time of it. To be clear, I had an idea of that stuff before Grandpa Ken died, and then everything went topsy-turvy. Not in a good way either. I'm figuring out again, though, now, or at least working to do so. There are so many times I learn from you. You keep me on my toes. Thank you. It helps me to stay in touch with the ever-changing world, keeps my brain active, and me learning it. That's a good thing. Love, Dad. January 6th, 2023. Young lady, I am so glad to hear you making plans with Kent friends and expanding your social circle. Look at you, my little socialite. It was generally a good day, too. I took time for me in the sensory deprivation tank, which is always a nice break. The world can be so overwhelming, especially for folks like us. I know you can be sensory seeking in a lot of ways, and be sure to give yourself time to retreat and relax as well. Sometimes that constant din can quiet the voices in negative self-talk, and be mindful of that. It's no different than using substances to get outside of yourself. I don't want that life for you. I'm sorry for the damage I did to you with my problems around substances. At the same time, connection is the opposite of addiction, which is part of why I've been such a heavy advocate of you finding your people. I am so incredibly happy that you have with Eva and all your online friends, as well as in-person folks. I'm proud of you, kiddo. Love, Dad. January 7th, 2023. Hey, kiddo. I am so glad that I got to go to temple today and see the rabbi's new baby. Named Margot was so precious and reminded me of when you were that tiny. Yes, you were teeny tiny once, just a little 6-pound bug butt. I couldn't help but get a little weepy. I know you've expressed a desire regularly for being smaller than you are, and I kind of get it. You started out incredibly small. You were also slightly early, in part because of my own idiocy. Ask about the subwoofer sometime. You have been undoubtedly the best surprise of my life and better than I ever imagined a kid could be. I've said this plenty of times before and will continue to say it forever. I'm the luckiest guy in the world to be your dad. You are an incredible person and always have been, although I have at times had my own shit in the way. I've tried to clear that out of the way of us having a good relationship, and I have hope that in time we can have a fulfilling adult relationship. Love, Dad. January 8th, 2023. Hey, Bugbutt. To follow on what I was saying yesterday, I know that some of my shit has caused harm to you, and I'm working to be a better person. That's not just to try and continue to be in your life. I aim to be someone worth being in your life and attractive to others in the broad sense. It's also because I feel better about myself when I behave better. When I feel better about myself, I'm less likely to act on my addict behaviors too, so I tend to have a bit of a positive feedback loop going there. I don't think I'm alone in that fact. I have a feeling that you'll find this out for yourself someday too. For me, treating people well is as much not hurting them as it is being nice. Those two used to be seen as the same thing in my mind, and I wish I had realized their difference sooner than I did. I don't have to go out of my way to be nice if I don't want to. Not hurting people is the baseline. Being nice is a bonus. Your old man can be a bit slow. Love, Dad. January 9th, 2023. Good evening, girly. I was so proud of you this weekend, planning with friends, tolerating me having lunch with a friend, and even chatting with Ellen. That's a lot of big steps, sweetheart. I say all this not to point out something for no good reason or to embarrass you. That talking to elders and planning has been something I struggle with too for most of the life that I can remember. You're doing a great job of growing up and are probably doing better than I did, if I'm being honest. I've done a lot of what I have done in my adulthood to try and shield you from some of the pain that I suffered as a kid. Consistently being told that I was not wanted, seeing my mom's action not line up with her words, having her generally be highly self centered. Grandma Sue's passing has really brought up a lot of that old hurts. Pray to God that I have not hurt you that badly, although I know I've done my share of damage too, and for that I'm truly sorry, hon. Love, Dad. January 10th, 2023. Sweetie, good evening. It's late in the day because I had lab and a busy Tuesday. I'm just glad that my evening lab isn't happening this semester. I'm nervous for the new integrated lab on Thursday, and we'll have to wait and see how that goes. It was good to be back in the classroom and have chats with students again. I really am impressed with the questions students come up with. The same goes for you, young lady. When you asked me about aerosaurs, I was thrilled. Having you see me as someone worth asking a serious question of, that was huge and a highlight of the last few months. Most teens very much see their parents as idiots, and no doubt we can have our dumber moments. At least that's the reputation of teens. I don't remember feeling that way towards my dad, although he was also dead, so yeah. I definitely felt that way towards Grandma Sue and felt justified in those feelings, even though in a lot of ways I've not had much compassion and understanding to show her. I guess in a lot of ways I've earned the expected teen disapproval that you have not shown me. Thank you for that. Love, Dad. January 11th, 2023. Hey, kiddo. Today was the start of lecture at work, and I'm so damned behind right now. I have these ideas of getting caught up, and then life just keeps showing up with me with more things to do. Whether it's dishes, laundry, cooking, recovery, cat care, or fucking work. There just aren't enough hours in the day, more so than usual. In a lot of ways, I'm glad for you to be able to say that you don't want to go to college and instead follow your heart and be a pilot. I have my fears about you being able to be out on your own, however that looks for you. A lot of that is the usual parental fear, and some of it is my addiction piping up. Part of it is internalized ableism and capitalism that I have yet to unpack. In any case, I'm sorry for the times that I have let those fears impact our relationship. There's a lot of I'm sorries in this journal. I just noticed, and that's something I always hated about Mom. I do feel ashamed of a lot of my life, and I'm working to do better. I'm proud of you for being able to do your own work like you have been. I know you'll keep it up too. Love, Dad. January 12th, 2023. Vivian, such a crap day at work. Today was the first day of my integrated lab, and it was a doozy. Spent so much time and energy trying to build a stable life for us. I know I have a lot of fear of instability and economic hardship. Growing up poor does that to one, from what I understand, from what I've experienced. I don't know how well I sheltered you from that, and I know your recent birthday was a bit of a disappointment. I hope you understand that I tried, hun. It's okay to understand and still be upset too. My trying doesn't dismiss your hurt. Hell, emotions are often complex and mixed like that, especially when it comes to parents and other close relationships. We hurt the people we love the most, not intentionally, just out of that proximity. It's the same reason there are so many car wrecks occur close to home. Statistics can be funny like that. I also know the statistics for folks like us are Not exactly favorable, which does not help ease my fear about your prospects for a happy life. It's me, not you. Love, Dad. January 13th, 2023. Good evening, hun. Thank God it's Friday. It has been a long as hell week, and I am really looking forward to this long weekend. I look forward to time with you, yes, and also time to relax and get caught up on work. That's a lot to pack into this or any weekend, so I may be setting myself up for disappointment. We'll see what happens. I tend to set my expectations really highly, as if having those high expectations met would make up for some of the disappointment that I've also suffered. That's unfortunately not how life works. It's not fair, and that's part of what's driven me to work toward a more fair world. That really has been my goal in my advocacy efforts and activism. I want you to have a better life than I did, and that includes a desire for a better world for you, one that deserves you and all your amazingness, at least in part. At the end of the day, that's part of what every parent wants, and part of the job of a Jewish person, tikkun olam, is or repair of the world. You're not Jewish, and I hope that you still have some draw toward also improving the world in some way, shape, or form. I still love you no matter what, little lady. Love, Dad. January 14th, 2023. Hey, kiddo. It's been a long day, albeit a productive one. I got the plot for Grandma Sue, Grandpa Ken, and Aunt Kim at Greenlawn. I am so glad to be able to give them all what they want finally. It would be nice to get what I want, although I'm not entirely sure what that is many days. I kind of just want to be happy and enjoy life. That used to mean field ecology and then teaching. Some days it still means teaching, although these days are less often lately. I think it's just burnout, not that that's an easy thing to fix. I admire your clarity in what you want to do with life, and I know you can do it once you apply yourself to some education in that direction. You really do show how hyperfocus can be a benefit at times. In all honesty, I'm regularly impressed with what a congenial person you can be. You are very easy to get along with. My biggest fear is that you will attract abusers to you, and I have faith that with some time and learning, you'll have the self sufficiency to not have to stay in bad situations. Love, Dad. January 15th, 2023. Hello, young lady. Today was a bit of a lazy day in the house, and I definitely needed that. I spent possibly too much time on putting together a Lego greenhouse and watching iZombie. Yes, I can show that hyperfocus as well, and not always in ways that are as productive as you do. I put a lot of that negative hyperfocus up to my own addiction because it often is a way for my brain to attempt to escape from pain or stress. This evening, I spoke at a meeting that my friend Josh helps out with. It was not comfortable for me. I don't like being the center of attention. I think you share that dislike based on how I've seen you behave over the years. I have often had to do things that I did not enjoy, in part because my default is to not like many things. Thank you, depression and low leisure skills. It's also in part because of my anxiety, especially around new things. I've seen with you many times when you have fought against something only to realize you enjoyed the thing you were fighting against. It took me seeing that in you for me to recognize that in myself. Thanks for teaching me. Love, Dad. January 16th, 2023. Sweetie, it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I was so glad for the extra day off. You know me, so I'm sure you're shocked to hear that I used the time to try and get caught up on work. And everything is so behind in my life, it feels overwhelming. I wish to help Grandma Sue could have been anything close to the parent that I needed. At least then my grief would make more sense, and I would have less resentment towards her. I admire your ability to disconnect from her loss so easily. I know you two didn't have much of a relationship while she was alive. There wasn't much of her to have a relationship with. People always said, including her, that her family was her life, and she did not treat that family well. Really, her life was trying to create or control the way she thought family was supposed to look, and I never fit into her view of our family. You were really adorable in your humility and an awareness when you were asking about new flight sim stuff. I'm doing what I can to be accepting of you and all parts of you, and I like to think that I'm doing better than my mom did. Not that that's a high bar. Love, Dad. January 17th, 2023. Hey, girly. Today was another of the shorter lab days on Tuesdays this semester. It certainly doesn't feel shorter or less stressful. I had a student who stayed the entire time all by herself the last hour. It was hard not to resent her and see her as keeping me from getting home for dinner. She wasn't even asking any questions or using lab materials. It was frustrating as hell, especially since I had been working straight through with only a 15-minute break since 7 a.m. and class ended at 5 p.m. Maybe it's unrealistic to expect that students will not stay the full 3 hours in lab. It's just been my experience with this class. It is really hard to try and balance my responsibilities at this point. There are just so many of them. It's not like I have folks who can help me with a lot of them, and it's part of why I wish you would do something to help around the house. At the same time, I don't have the energy to fight or enforce those things, which is why I've tried to incentivize chores with allowance. It hasn't worked great, and I feel defeated, like there's no hope that things will ever get better. Things will likely look brighter in the morning. Love, Dad. January 18th, 2023. Hello, girl. What an interesting day today was. Counseling reassorted my diagnosis of complex PTSD. I like to forget that that's a thing sometimes, just like I like to forget that addiction and autism are part of my life. It's helpful to have those reminders that I'm not insane, despite how crazy you might think I act at times. LOL. I've just had a lot going on in my life. I also like to think that you haven't had as much, or rather, that I've done a better job at protecting you than I have. Trauma is a funny thing in the way it hides itself and lies to you that it exists. It's also persistent, and we're still learning about the epigenetics of it. So much generational trauma that we are slowly acknowledging and understanding. Hell, not to blame too much on Grandma Sue, but she was just starting to open up about her trauma finally in the visit preceding her death. She isn't responsible for her trauma, and I still resent some of her actions that stem from her trauma. Love, Dad. January 19th, 2023. Hi, sweetheart. I have to start off with admitting that you had me in tears when you described your home life on your ADHD assessment this morning. It was oddly good to go through that assessment with you. I was so glad to be able to go through that with you. I really appreciated hearing and talking with you about your experiences and your memory of our life. I'm sure that those memories will change, at least some over your lifetime, just as mine have done. We learn new information, forget pieces, and just generally have a new perspective. And you know that I like spending time with you in any case. Seeing you take steps toward being a healthier version of yourself has been amazing. It has been rough realizing the shorter lifespan that my parents experienced compared to their parents. It's sad for me seeing my grandparents live well into their 90s while mom and dad were both gone before they turned 70. That's not at all fair, and I hate it. I desperately want for you to reverse this trend for both you and me. Love, Dad. January 20th, 2023. Hey, hun. Ugh, I can't believe that I finally got through this step in building the anti-biological essentialism course. We proposed it to the full faculty in biology today. The remarks were all supportive, and there was no classic reviewer number two, thankfully. The worst was hearing this colleague make a complete ass of herself and not realizing it. She was blatantly being a racist douche and had no clue. There's a part of me that has no desire to go on with this fight and push forward. In reality, that's just my burnout and frustration with UD talking and not reality. This job really does fall into the uncanny valley for me. I can see it for what it is, and it is not what I was told it was in the beginning, although it is very damn close. At the same time, I see the higher ups do the exact opposite of what I think is the right thing for them to do. Maybe that's arrogance. I don't know. I just can't stand when what folks say and do don't mesh with each other. Grandma Sue did that with her insistence that she loved me and then not listening to boundaries. UD does that with its valuing DEIJ work and then being exclusive and building barriers. Love, Dad. January 21st, 2023. Hi, little lady. I'll admit that I've had a uncommonly good day considering everything. As usual, a lot of that is you. You have been a wonder to watch grow. I'm excited to see you try out your temp test tomorrow morning. I'm also looking forward to brunch, hopefully to celebrate your passing the test. No matter what, we'll have a good day with a good treat with Danish, brie, and salmon. What I'm not looking forward to is another hard, long day of work on a weekend. Grandma Sue had the worst possible timing ever, I swear. I am really hopeful that this union push will be successful and help lighten the load I have at work some. I don't know that I can keep up this pace. I certainly don't want to keep it up for much longer. The worst part is recognizing that I'm one of the lucky ones, that being in the natural sciences, I do get treated far better than many lecturers. You may well be on to a great idea with choosing a career that does not need a college degree. Higher ed is certainly not what I thought it would be. The world has changed a lot and fast. Love, Dad. Not necessarily for the better, and it still keeps moving fast and a lot. January 22nd, 2023. Hey, kiddo. I had a great breakfast with you. I appreciated your honesty in liking sockeye salmon over lox. Brichos was a good idea, I think. Mango chutney is always a good choice. It's Indian. I'll admit I was a little sad that we didn't get through your driving test this weekend. There'll be more time. I'm just excited to see you succeed the way you usually do when you try. You are so smart, hun, and can do anything you put your mind to. You may not feel like this at times, and yet you are doing a great job. People think the world of you and are excited to get a chance to help you nearly any time you reach out. That can still be really overwhelming at times, I'm well aware. Hell, I feel like I'm on repeat lately, telling folks that I don't know what would be any help in the grief process. It is hard not to get frustrated when I have no answers for people, and I am so ashamed of that fact. Like, I'm an adult, nearly 42-year-old man. I should know what I need, right? Anyway, I'm sorry for the times that I've pushed you for an answer. Love, Dad. March 23rd, 2023. Hello, Vivian. I'm sorry that it's been a hot minute since I wrote. This whole grieving Grandma Sue has been a lot harder than I expected. Apparently, I have expected. Apparently, I have complicated grief from a complicated life. Lots of fun childhood trauma rearing its head, in addition to the mundane and so difficult for me tasks that come after someone's passing. There's just so much to do, so many things to take care of. I've been trying to take this reminder as to what I need to take care of before I'm gone. Not that I'm planning to die anytime soon, quite the opposite. I have every intention of holding on as long as I can, in part to embarrass you for more years. Just kidding. I want to be around to see how amazing you grow to be. You're already pretty damn spectacular, young lady, and I can't wait to see what life has in store for you and what cool things you'll do. I hope you'll let me be a part of your life as you keep being awesome. Love, Dad. Oops. March 28th, 2023. Dear Vivian, I'm so proud of you for asking for help this evening with the cat box. It may not seem like a big thing, and yet it's not often that you do that. I really appreciate when you do, though. Communication, even about the little things, just makes life easier to navigate with another person. I know you want to live with your friends someday, and I think that's great. Being able to negotiate chores and such is a big step in that direction. I was also really proud of you for introducing yourself to Mary at your summer job intake. Being an adult takes a lot of work, and there are plenty of days that I don't know if I'm up to it. It's part of why I worry about you being out of the house. I worry that if I struggle so much, then you will too, and that's just arrogance on my part. You're a perfectly wonderful and highly capable young woman who fills my life with light. Young lady, you are nothing short of a miracle. Never forget that. Love, Dad. March 29th, 2023. Sweet girl. I got the offer of a new job today, working with Ron at Men Having Babies, doing advocacy work. I really appreciate the chance to help queer families grow. I was and am lucky in that I got to be a parent when, for so many of us, it is exceedingly expensive. All the conversations about money with Jamie and Henrik and Mike and Jeff were uncomfortable for me. I'm excited to be able to bring a bit of MJ's energy back to my life with advocacy. I know you aren't his biggest fan, and I understand why. He did also do a lot of good in his time here. He pushed for change that helps us in our community. I look forward to doing more of that. At least that's my goal. That and to have a path out of UD, should I choose to take it. Hell, I'll be happy if I can pay off the house this way. I know you've been enjoying flying and flight simulation, and I want to be able to give you more of that. Love, Dad. November 8th, 2023. Hi, Vivian. So once again, things went a little very different than I had planned. Life has been even more busy since I started at Men Having Babies, and I hope that this is making a difference in the world. I think it is. It's at least making a difference in our lives, as I have been able to afford far more than I had ever expected to be able to provide you with lately. That's been a good thing. You often are reluctant to ask for things, expressing concern that you're asking for too much or too expensive. Young lady, you are far from that. I am happy to provide these things that you want. And honestly, I don't know any other ways to show that I love you. At least not in a way that you understand. You don't seem to want time with me, and you don't seem to want hugs. Doing things for you doesn't seem to make much of a deal in your life or mood, and here I mean cooking a favorite meal, cleaning, or such. It's probably just the age. I keep hearing how teens aren't known for their gratitude. You've always been an exceptionally sweet girl, though, not to mention your brains and growing beauty. I'm a lucky dad to have you. On my way to Brussels at the moment, and I'm only partly looking forward to seeing another country. I wish you'd been more receptive to the idea of coming with me next year because I would love to see you visit the French Air Museum. You were so happy with the trip to the Dayton Air Museum that I have no doubt French would be even more exciting. You said yourself that you prefer French planes, which I don't understand. Go ahead and laugh at me. I know it's funny. I just don't see a real difference in planes most of the time. I'm impressed at your ability to do so, though. When you set your mind to it, you can really accomplish some remarkable things. The gentleman next to me is watching Avatar, and I remember how much you liked that when we saw it and Avatar 2. I've enjoyed watching Hobbit with you and looking forward to The Lord of the Rings when I get home. Most of all, I'm looking forward to more time with you and for myself after my autumn travel for work is done and my advisees are registered for their classes. This has been a busy semester. Some of that busyness has been electrolysis and other appointments for you. Those have oddly been some of my favorite moments. Just seeing you happy. Your response to you, to your song, was more than I could have hoped for. You were thrilled. You had seemed skeptical about it when I told you what I was having done. Come to think of it, maybe you not liking having things done for you is more about me not doing things for you want to have done for you. Let's try that again. Come to think of it, maybe you not liking having things done for you is more about me not doing the things you want to have done for you. I think that's it. I know I can be more than a bit of an idiot and not know how to help folks or give them what they want. I've failed at being what people want of me for a very long time, and I've probably failed to be what you needed me to be plenty as well. For that, I really am truly sorry, Vivian. I like to think that I've been doing better, and only you could really say yes or no to that. I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for that reassurance, though. In part, I'm not going to hold my breath because we just hit some turbulence and I need to focus and breathe through. I hate moments like this the most on airplanes. The jarring and shaking nearly puts me into a panic attack and is a part of why I'm not so much a fan of flying. I know you'll do better when you're in the cockpit, which reminds me, I was surprised not to see any Discovery flight on your birthday list. Why not do something again that you know you enjoy? You may have done it once, and you can do it as many times as you want in the future. I was wrong about that, as I am often. You can only do one Discovery flight, but I do appreciate that we've been able to have you do flight lessons. I just want you to have a good 18th birthday. That's something special and helps you feel celebrated and loved. For my 18th birthday, Grandma Sue didn't really do anything except help me pack. Not really even that. She told me a number of things I couldn't take, even though I had planned on it. My celebration was to get a tattoo, my first two, and sign papers on my first home, the condo in Lima where you were born. Not literally. I didn't do a home birth with you, even though I wanted to. You were actually born in Bluffton Hospital, the only baby there at the time. So you can't claim switched at birth, kiddo, as much as you might want to some days. Come to think of it, Grandma did have a cake for me, or maybe I made it. It sucked though and was not all that tasty. Store bought. That was the problem. It was store bought. I don't get the appeal of store bought cakes at all. They just aren't good. I don't remember if I ever told you about the cake back cook cookbook great grandma Ruth got for me for my 12th birthday. She found this just like grandma used to make cookbook and gave it to me. Horrible meals, almost all meat based when I was a vegetarian, and then she got upset when I wanted to know where to find the Duncan Hines cookbox cake mix in the cookbook. Duncan Hines was somehow the fancy cake at her house growing up. For Grandma Sue, the fancy cake was this wartime concoction, crazy cake or dump cake. It was a simple as hell and made with cheap ingredients, so it fit our needs well. Dad's birthday always warranted a chocolate cake and chocolate frosting, though. One year, she made this brilliant, cheap circus cake for him. I think it was his 40th birthday. I am sorry if my desire to give you a good birthday is stressing you out, kiddo. I've said it before and I'll say it again that if you can tell me your needs and wants, then I will do my utter best to give those to you. I do sometimes worry that I give you too much and deprive you of the opportunity to grow. At the same time, life has kind of dealt you a lot of shit at times, so I guess I see it as trying to counter that negativity. Please let me know if it's just not what you're looking for or if you want to have more challenges and growth in your life. I guess part of it is also making up for how I didn't have the things I wanted as a kid. We just never had the money. My counselor has me doing internal family systems or parts work, which has been interesting to say the least. It's looking at the parts of me that didn't get what they needed and while growing up and find ways to give that to them now. November 11th, 2023. I'm sitting here at work in the Brussels conference in yet another long meeting. This time it's the Advocacy and Research Forum. We're going through the Surrogacy Advisor website, and I'm kind of astonished at how much stuff men having babies actually does. The website has so much information, it low-key blows my mind. It reminds me to be more appreciative of how much the world has changed in the time that I've been alive. This power of information is a totally different world than when I grew up with dial-up and a million AOL CDs for installation every month. This might not seem like a big deal to you, although it's kind of interesting for me thinking about how the world might change between now and when you're my age. You probably think that's too far to be at all interesting. It's far enough in the future that it's basically meaningless. It gives me a bit of hope, in part because the old MLK Jr. quote about the arc of freedom being long and bending toward freedom. That's been my general experience, and I pray it's yours, little lady. I'm well aware that the current situation in the world feels far more dire, and That's true for me too. It is regular work for me to try and keep a realistic perspective on these things. I also know that that work is critical to me staying alive and being able to function in society. That's not always been a goal for me, and it's not fully a goal for me now either. Society is not a great system the way it is now. It is also something that is malleable, and making society is one of the things that I absolutely love about my job. Both of them, really. Unfortunately, fear is a huge driver for human motivation, and a lot of people aren't well equipped for not acting on that fear. That might seem odd, the view of fear and acting on fear as two separate things. Maybe it's less odd to you. You seem to be far more emotionally mature than I was at your age. You certainly seem that way to me, at least. I didn't understand the disconnect between feelings and actions and how other folks interpret actions as feelings and so on. It seems like a very neurotypical thing to assume feelings from actions. At the same time, I'm still learning how to navigate that disconnect between feelings and actions. Let's face it, I'm still learning to just identify my feelings in the first place, if I'm being honest. This conference generally brings up a lot of memories for me and the feelings associated with those memories. And who am I kidding? In a lot of cases, I'm just now recognizing those feelings after spending so much time and effort pushing down those emotions in the past. It's a lot to go through, and a lot of it is really good. I love being able to talk so much about you and how amazing you are and how much of a gift you have been in my life. I can't easily say the impact that you have had on me. It has been overwhelmingly a great thing. Even the hard stuff like your cancer diagnosis are things that I have had the opportunity to grow through, and I am grateful for those opportunities. I'll keep saying it until you believe it, Vivian. You are an extraordinary young woman.